Biggie on sports. He says what they won't say. Tune in, connect, and hear a different perspective.
Welcome to another edition of Biggie on Sport, as we'll be taking a look at a number of challenges facing the growth within the sport fraternity, looking specifically on the grassroots level. There's been a lot of complaints, if not national outcry, that there's a high level of stifleness in terms of the growth of sport. And talking about sport, I'm talking about a variety of sporting codes in South Africa, that there is non-participants of young people within different sporting codes in the country. But to help us unpack all this, my studio guest here, it is Thabiso Mpinga, to take us through and discuss as to what can be done as mitigating circumstances in as far as sport is concerned. Thabiso, good afternoon.
Thank you, Chris, for having me.
Yeah, who is Thabiso Mpinga?
Thabiso Mpinga is a young man who grew up in Vosloorus, later resided in Boksburg. So that's where currently I'm staying.
I'm told you are a golfer, but before we discuss about you as a golfer, let's actually unpack it for the audience. What is the sport of golf?
Look, the sport of golf, it's a fun sport. A sport that can be played by everyone, younger and the old. But obvious, because of how the sport it's brought to many, obvious it's perceived as a sport that's played by older people. But it's a sport that can be played by everyone.
It is described as a sport of patience, a gentleman sport, though we see inroads being made by female into the sports, as you've mentioned, as well as young kids. Talking about young kids, you take me back to a young man who was beamed on our television screens. He was called Sim Tiger. I think he was 4 years old at that time. How does a young person of that age develop interest in the sport of golf? Is it because of parents, inspiration?
Look, with Tiger Woods, I would say the father was a golfer. Hence, that's why he instilled the golf to Tiger Woods. But to someone obvious growing up in a township, it becomes a bit of a challenge because we don't have mentors who are willing to take the sports to younger people.
Talking about sport in the township, that's a hot potato. We don't seem to have many young black players who are participating in sport. Is it lack of resources? Is it because the sport hasn't been taught or inculcated so much well to the township young people for them to be inspired to venture into the sport itself? Because a lot of people are saying it is a sport belonging to a certain class of people. It's a rich man sport. Is it true to that?
That's true. One thing that I can say, Chris, it's the availability of the facilities. It plays a role for younger people. An example, if you grew up in the township, looking at young people who are playing soccer, obvious, the reason why many of them they were playing soccer, it is because the facilities were there for soccer. So hence it was easier for them to play soccer. But with golf, the facilities are very rare. You can't find a golf course in the township, of which you had to take a taxi or be driven by your parents to a golf course. And that's why it becomes a bit of a challenge for young people to play golf.
But why there is so much a deafening silence on the sport itself? In schools, in the township, why? It looks like somebody or someone out there doesn't actually care to give an opportunity to empower people as far as sport is concerned, as compared to your football, as you just said, netball and rugby. There is a deafening silence in as far as golf is concerned.
That's so true. I mean, my perspective would be we need to do something on a grassroots level, you know, from children from the age of 4 or 5. You know, if we put that interest in them, surely by the time they are 10, 15, then it would be easier for them to play golf. But if we are going to train them golf, like myself, I mean, I started to play golf probably around the age of 30 plus. So it takes a lot, even, you know, to grasp. But when you start the sport when you are still younger, it makes a huge difference.
They say it takes 10 years to become fully fledged in as far as the sport itself is concerned. What inspired you to venture into the sport?
Look, as I said earlier, I was invited by a friend to a golf course, and because of that, you know, I went eventually. I then developed that love for what you call for golf. But as much as the sport, it's as I can say, it's a very costly sport. It's expensive. But yeah, there was that interest because there was no sport which I was participating in. So yeah, that's how I got into golf.
It's a costly sport.
Yes.
Give us a breakdown of the equipment. I'm told some of the equipment, they're very expensive. Your golf sticks, your golf shirts, your pants, shoes, they say it's damn expensive. Tell us more on that.
Yes, that's true, Chris. I mean, when you're looking at the cheaper golf sets, you're looking at about starting from, let's say, around 10,000 rand. Let's say 10,000 rand for a set of golf clubs.
Okay.
So it's a costly sport. I mean, the shoes itself, they are costly. You know, your golf t-shirts, and there are no funders. Obviously, you have to do that out of your pocket.
We're talking here to Thabiso Mbinga, who is wearing so many hats in as far as sporting codes are concerned. And we're looking at development on the grassroots level. But specifically, we start off with golf. And golf is a concern for many out there because this is a sport that it's not spoken about. You'll never see any golf course in any township. And talk about golf course, do we have any in the townships? I only know of one in Davidton.
Yes, there is still one in Davidton, which is not fully functional because obviously the golf course had to be maintained in order to be played. So if it's not well maintained, obviously you can't play very well on that golf course. Hence, you know, people they would prefer to go to golf courses in the what you call in the suburbs.
But drawing the attention once again, because I think this is bothering me as to what can be done. What can be done? What can be the mitigating circumstances to close that gap? What should be done? Is maybe the department, the Department of Sports and Recreation not active enough in order to come up with programs to introduce the sport at the grassroots level and develop young kids maybe? The likes of Gary Player, he's being called the ambassador of the sport itself. Is Gary perhaps doing outreach programs to schools and reach out to young kids maybe and try and lure them into the sport?
I would say people like Gary Player, yes, they are playing part, but mostly they are, I would say they are coaches or trainees to young people, but already who have got money, they're not taking the sport to the schools. So my suggestion would be if we can have the government, you know, introducing the sport to at our primary level, then I think that will develop the what you call the interest.
The interest, yeah. There's jargons that you guys use when you are on a turf. You use your 6-hole, your 9-hole, your 18 holes. In layman's term, come to our standard. What is that?
Right. Look, when you're playing golf, usually it's a 18-hole sport where you have to play your first nine, and then you take a break, and then after the nine, and then you take another nine. So that would take you probably about 4 hours to complete your whole game, obviously.
I'm told that the back carriers, if not carries, your caddy, apparently these are the people who play an integral part in whatever you do. These are the people who guide you on how to swing your ball, on which direction you should swing the ball. I'm told they play a very significant part in advising you on how to play or how to swing. I don't know any credence or any substance to that statement.
Yes, the caddies, most of them are people who have played golf. So obvious, because of their experience, they would be able to guide you and tell you that, okay, this is what you need to do. Sometimes when when you're playing, when there's the wind, surely they would tell you that, okay, this is how you should play your ball.
I'm not sure if you can assist with this. Is Tiger Woods, my apologies, is Tiger Woods the first black person to participate in the PGA, or there are other black players who emerged before Tiger Woods?
No, Tiger Woods, he was not the first black person to play golf or to qualify for PGA Tour.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there are people like Charlie Seaford,
Okay.
who played prior to Tiger Woods. But the thing is, other people, they get exposure. People like Charlie Seaford, they played before, but because of the exposure was not there. Obvious people, they don't know much about Charlie Seaford, but those are people who played before Tiger Woods.
And I learned also through my research that black people were barred from participating in the sport until back in the 90s. So that's when actually they started emerging in playing sport. How true is that?
Look, the sport, it was created for a certain race, but eventually, because of breaking those boundaries, and then we ended up having, black people who are playing golf. But people who are still, even actually up to this day, who are still, I would say, playing golf more than black people, obviously, are white people. But gradually, we are working on that, trying to get young people to play golf.
I want us to move away from golf now before we get into the next sporting code. But what has been the highlights for you since playing golf?
Look, I would encourage young people to participate or to take interest in golf. Obvious, it's not something easy to do. It's like any other sport. You need to be committed. It's a very, I would say, concentrating sport. It's not easy to learn, but one thing that I can say, it's doable. And if you can master golf, surely you can go far, even in life, as we have seen with what you call Tiger Woods.
Okay. Well, we're going to move out from golf and now focus on netball as a sport. One of the television channel has come up with a concept of inviting schools to participate in netball, as also is one of the sport that is not all, if not everyone, are participating in. And talking about this topic comes in the backdrop of going into the weekend of the 17th, where the under-21 netball World Cup qualifying games will commence in Pretoria. And this as a build-up to the 2025 World Cup of the netball tournament. And SuperSport is inviting everyone to participate in schools sport. School sport, how important it is?
Chris, school sport, it's very important. When I was still at school, we used to participate in quite a lot of sports, and you had a variety of sports.
Indeed.
But if you look at our schools in nowadays, those facilities are no longer there anymore. I mean, you look at the basketball courts; they're no longer there. So obvious, by not having those facilities, then that limits the young people on playing what you call those sports. But if we can work on the facilities, the availability of the facilities, I bet you young people they'll play those.
I wouldn't agree with you more, because we know that schools sports has contributed so much in the unearthing of young talent. I'm from Guatemala. The likes of teenage Lata, Zablon Skutlan used to play for Morega Solos and Kaiser Chiefs. Those guys actually were picked up from school sports, and I think it also happened from other townships, your Mamelodi and so forth. As I've mentioned in my introduction, the netball tournament is coming up this weekend. It will be happening in Pretoria for the World Cup. And we also heard of the announcement of the new head coach of the Proteas netball, Janine, who has been appointed, taking over from Norma Plummer, the Australian, who has since left in December. The girls netball, the Proteas, didn't do well in Cape Town during the World Cup. And looking at the CV of the newly appointed coach, he's got an impeccable CV. We think perhaps he might take us somewhere in as far as netball Proteas are concerned.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. But obvious, Chris, what needs to be done, it's the development. If we can work on the development, have young people participate in sports while they're still young, that creates a better chance for younger people to grasp the sport. Unlike whenever you're taking young people when they are at a certain age. So once they are old, obvious, to gear them, to get them into a gear, it becomes a bit of a challenge. But if we can start them at the younger age, I bet you we will definitely make it.
I'm going to throw a spanner to the works here, or sound controversial. The finger has been pointed at the Department of Education with their policies to eradicate school in sport.
I think that's one mistake that we're doing, because in the country, you can't have the academics only. Surely other people, they are good at sports. Hence, that's why we have people like Ronaldo, who are good at sports, but who are lacking somehow academically.
Yes.
So if you were to balance the sports with academics, then obviously you would have a balanced society. But obviously, don't neglect what you call the other part, which is what you call with sports. I mean, from our side, I would say let them encourage young people to play the sports, and definitely we would have the good results in our country.
But this has been a talking point, and it looks like someone is not willing to step up to the plate. And we can talk here, we can create platforms of this nature and talk about this until the catalyst comes back home later in the evening. But it seems there is no one here to take responsibility in as far as school sport is concerned. And this is where it is lacking for us, and this is where there is lack of talent in our country.
Chris, if you look at the US, I would say something that's edgy, but we have to say it. I mean, if you look at the US, people who are ministers in the US are people who have participated in those sectors. So you can't have a minister who is a minister of sport that never participated in sports. Surely he wouldn't know what's happening and what are the challenges that people who are in sports are facing together. But if we can have people who have participated in that arena, surely they would know exactly what are the challenges young people are facing, or people who are in that sector.
Someone once said fit for purpose. That's where we need to go and choose people who are eligible and who fit in that particular role. Once again, I must remind you that my guest here is Atelier Sompingo, as we are looking at different issues affecting our sport in South Africa. Are you impressed with how Bafana performed at the African Cup of Nations?
Yes, currently our boys, they did very well. We need to give credit where it's due. Yes, they didn't do well before. Obvious people, they were, I would say, discouraged about their performance, but lately they have picked themselves up and we are happy with their performance, and we are encouraging them to do better than what they did.
I'm raising this because they are coming to play into friendly games in a few days' time against Algeria, and I'll remember the other country, and there's a brouhaha, if not an outcry, about the selection of the players. Some saying that Hugo Bruce is overlooking other teams not selecting other players to participate in the squad as they go in these two friendly international games.
Look, in terms of selecting players, I would say each and every player deserves a fair chance. So if you have a squad of about, let's say, 20 or 23 players, surely you need to give them a chance. And you wouldn't know if some they do have the potential if you don't give them a chance to participate. So as much as, yes, you want the club to win, but surely you need people who would participate, and that's where you pick up if they're good or not.
Apparently he arrived back from Belgium at home to spend time with family. As soon as he arrived, he had talks with Safa. He was on the verge, if many of you are not aware, to leave Bafana. He said he wasn't happy because when he got to South Africa, he was immensely criticized from all quarters of the country about his plans in as far as Bafana is concerned, the players and so forth. Do you think we should keep Hugo Bruce? And if not, who can replace Hugo Bruce?
Hugo Bruce is doing a great job, but however, I think as a country going forward, we need to trust our coaches. But obvious, for us to be able to get somewhere, we need to start with the younger generation. Grow from there. So you can't coach old people and expect results from there. If you can start them at the grassroots level and grow with them, definitely you should be able to get the what you call.
I always say you cannot coach if not work with mediocre players. Just like other teams are showing right now. A lot of people are saying Hugo Bruce is not okay, but my opinion for Hugo Bruce is that he came to South Africa, he found a nice structure in South Africa, and he built something out of the structure, and that structure gave a toilet time to big continental countries such as Nigeria.
I mean, one thing that we need to look at, it's the time and the turnaround. Hugo Bruce, he was given a short time, a short span. Look, but during that time that he was given, he was able to do something.
To turn around things.
Yeah, to turn around things. So obviously, if we can give him more time, surely I think something great would come up out of that.
We're about to wrap it up now, and before we part our ways, we're going back to your golf as a player. We want to watch you play. Where can we come and see you play?
I normally participate in on Sundays, but obviously it depends which Sunday. But however, when I'll be playing, and then I'll let you know, guys, and then so that you can come and support us.
A young man watching this now and say to his dad or mom, Mama, Baba, Funa ukudlala golf. Laputi uyangichaza. What can you say to that young man there?
Okay. To a young man at home.
And where can he go? Where can he go? Because there isn't of any golfing academy in the townships. Where can he go?
Chris, I think it's something that one needs to take upon his shoulder. Go to the townships and introduce that sport so that young people, they can know about the sport. Mm-hmm. Surely there's nobody who would know about something if they were never told about it. Mm-hmm. So if one can go to them, then they would be able to know where the sport it's taking place.
So in future, we expect you to be doing national road shows in the township, obviously with resources allowing to educate and inculcate the golf as a sport.
Most definitely. I mean, if the if our government can make funds available, definitely one can be able to go out there and inspire young people. I mean, there are a lot of young people who don't like to play soccer, and because of that, some of them, they're idle. Obviously, not doing anything. But if they can be taught, somebody, create that urge, surely young people, they would follow what you call the folklore.
Your overall parting shot in as far as the importance of participating in sport, especially for young people, what can you say to them?
I would say younger people, if they participate in sports, that takes them away, even most of them, from doing even wrong things. I would encourage them to participate in sports, even if it's not golf. I mean, there are so many sports out there. They should take part in that, and we are there to support them. But however, the government, I think, needs to play a bigger role, actually, at availing themselves, so that we can have young people who are participating in sport.
Thank you so much for your insightful information. You seem to be well versed in as far as sport holistically is concerned, and I'm looking forward to speak to you once again, and especially around issues of cyclists, as you can see here in the background. When I talk about cyclists, because there isn't any participation from the townships, and why it is important. Once again, that was your edition this weekend of Biggie on Sport, as we had that we educate each other, we inform each other in as far as sport is concerned. Going forward, we'll be talking about netball, we'll be talking about female coaches in our countries within netball space and football space. And yes, until then, thank you so much for lending out your ears. Don't forget to check us out on all our socials.
Biggie on sports. He says what they won't say. Tune in, connect, and hear a different perspective.